saying that PACAF has sent this this letter around. Leaders of the base are instructed: do not use pronouns, age, race, etc. And they go on. The unauthorized examples of unauthorized language are male, female, youngest, oldest, he, she. But you're saying that that was not an official communication. That has not been a directive.
That is not an official communication from the HAF. Correct.
Okay. And so your position to me is today that is not policy, and that they have not been so instructed.
That is correct.
This is
that
social
is not
media
policy.
kerfuffle. I mean, this is not real. It's not happening.
A United States senator is sitting in an official hearing asking a general from the Air Force how banning the words he and she is supposed to help us win a war. Meanwhile, our military housing is covered in mold, families are living in conditions no service member should ever accept, and China is out there building the largest navy on the planet. Hawley is the only one in that room asking the right questions, and the answers he gets will make your blood boil. Let's break it down.
Thank you very much to the ranking member, and thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the witnesses for being here. General Stitt, let me talk with you. Let me start with you, if I could. I have spoken repeatedly with the Secretary of the Army about replacing aging homes at Fort Leonard Wood in my home state, and there is no doubt in my mind that service members deserve better than they are getting right now. I was just there a few weeks ago. I toured the homes myself. I spoke to residents. I spoke to spouses. I spoke to children who lived in the homes. These homes need to be replaced. What concerns me is the Army doesn't seem to have a plan to replace this aging housing stock. So let me just ask you this. In your opinion, how does the availability, or maybe lack of availability, of quality military housing for service members and their families affect recruiting and retention?
Senator Hawley, good afternoon. The Army takes the care and quality of life of all of our service members and their families very seriously. So we are making and committed to investing in our housing within not just that, but within our daycare centers, child care, offering opportunities, expanding beyond that for spousal employment, to put kind of a whole package on the table to ensure that our facilities and our care and commitment towards family members is first class.
You say a whole package. When will we be seeing this package?
Senator, we continue to work on it, and I can take that question for the record, please.
Well, that's fine. I mean, but let me just say again, for the record, I've said this in the full committee, I'll say it again here, that I think we're past the point of continuing to kick this down the road. I mean, this is a problem now. Frankly, at Fort Leonard Wood, it was a problem a decade ago. But listen, I've been there. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've talked to the service members myself. I've been in their houses. I've been in their kitchens. I've looked at their bathrooms where there's mold growing. I've seen that they don't have places for their kids. I've seen the substandard living conditions, and it just isn't acceptable, General. You know what? I promised those service members that I'd be a royal pain in the you-know-what until something changed. So I'm keeping that commitment, and I'm going to continue it until something changes. And frankly, I've heard this now it's going on 2 years. I've only been in the Senate 3, but I've heard it continuously that, well, we'll get to it, we'll get to it, we'll get to it. Well, at Fort Leonard Wood, we haven't gotten to it. And I bet, if we went around the table here, I bet that the other members of the subcommittee would have the same situation in their state. So I'll give you the question for the record, but I just want to put on notice again, and you can take this back, that I want to see some progress on this, and I want to see it soon. And what I don't want to see are any more commitments from the Army that they're going to spend X number of dollars. This happened last year. We're going to commit X number of dollars to Fort Leonard Wood, and then as it turns out, $0 were spent on housing. I'm still ticked off about that, and I don't want to see it happen again, and I want to see progress made. So that's my piece. I think you understand where I'm coming from. General Miller, let me come to you. Can you help me with something here? Andersen Air Force Base, I understand, this is in Guam, of course. Leaders there recently received an official email that prohibited them from using pronouns or descriptors like he, she, youngest, oldest, male, or female. Why is that? I mean, what's going on?
Senator Hawley, thank you for that question. Actually, that is, we've been talking a lot about that because it was an email, from my understanding, that went out locally from one of the commanders there, and I don't remember at what level. I don't know if it was a group commander or the wing commander there. I believe that it was a Facebook post that went out based on a question. It is not the Air Force policy to not use pronouns. And so I think it was a social media, exacerbated by individuals that said that they were directed for that.
Okay, good. Well, I think that's progress. So you're saying, I'm looking at a news article here published August 31, 2022, saying that PACAF has sent this letter around. Leaders of the base are instructed, do not use pronouns, age, race, etc. And they go on. The unauthorized examples of unauthorized language are male, female, youngest, oldest, he, she. But you're saying that was not an official communication. That has not been a directive.
That is not an official communication from the HAF. Correct.
Okay. And so your position to me is today that is not policy, and that they have not been so instructed.
That is correct.
This is a social media
policy
kerfuffle. I mean, this is not real. It's not happening.
I don't know if it's not happening, but it is not an official policy from the Department of the Air Force.
Okay. I ask because part of the way it's been reported is that the rationale is to help with lethality and also recruiting. And it was curious as heck how not using he, she can help with lethality and how it's helping with recruiting. But I take your word for it that this is not policy, and that satisfies me. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hey everybody, welcome back. What you just saw in that clip is exactly what is wrong with the people running our military right now. Senator Josh Hawley is in a Senate hearing, an official proceeding, and he has to sit there and ask a 4-star general to explain how an Air Force base in Guam issued an email ordering leaders not to use words like he, she, male, female, youngest, or oldest. Words. Basic English words. Banned. Now, General Miller tries to walk it back. She says it was a local commander, not official Air Force policy, that it got blown up on social media. Fine, let's take her at her word. But think about what that actually means. That means someone in a leadership position in the United States Air Force sat down at a desk, wrote an email, and decided that banning pronouns was a good use of their authority? Someone wearing a uniform thought this was worth issuing guidance on. That mindset is already in the building. That is the rot. It doesn't matter whether it came from the top. The fact that it came from anywhere inside our military is the problem. And then Hawley drops the line that should have ended the whole debate right there. He looks at her and says, "I'm just curious as heck how not using he and she can help with lethality." That's it. That is the entire question. While China develops hypersonic missiles, while our adversaries are hacking our infrastructure and launching satellites and building the largest naval fleet in the world, we have commanders writing HR memos about approved vocabulary. That is not a military ready to win a war. That is a bureaucracy that has forgotten its entire reason for existing. But here's what I want you to notice. This wasn't even the only thing Hawley went after in that same hearing. Before the pronoun conversation, he was grilling an Army general about military housing at Fort Leonard Wood. Mold on the walls, bathrooms falling apart, families living in conditions no American service member should ever have to accept. He didn't just read about it. He went there. He walked through those homes. He talked to the spouses and the kids. He saw it with his own eyes. And what did the Army general give him? The same bureaucratic runaround. We're committed to a whole package. A package? These families aren't asking for a package. They're asking for a wall that isn't caving in. And Hawley already caught the Army promising money for this exact problem the year before and spending $0, on housing for our troops. So you see the full picture now. On one side, you have a senator who shows up, does the work, asks the hard questions, and demands accountability for the real things. Housing, readiness, lethality. On the other side, you have military leadership handing him nothing but talking points and pronoun debates. Hawley is the only one in that room who sounds like a normal American, And that is exactly why the left cannot stand him. This is what real oversight looks like. And this is what we need more of. If this made your jaw drop as hard as mine did, hit that like button right now and share this video. The people in your life need to see this. Subscribe if you're new here because we break this down every single day. And drop a comment below. I want to know, was it the lethality line that hit you the hardest? Or was it finding out that a military commander actually wrote that email in the first place? Tell me your most shocking moment from this clip. I read every single one.